John, talk to us a bit about that contrast. You practiced as a clinician before your time in the military and functioning as a clinician within the armed services. And you've functioned, of course, afterwards as a clinician. We understand that in the military, there's been that increased liberties and responsibilities or capabilities to function in primary care. Can you contrast the two time frames and your participation as a clinician, not in primary care and then in primary care?
Absolutely. So you're right. Number one, physical therapists have more privileges than, say, civilian physical therapists. But how they mitigate that is every facility that you go to. So I've been to 4 or 5 facilities. They re-credential you, and then you're put on a peer review for a specified amount of time. So even though I've got this many years of experience and all these great credentials, you're closely monitored, and we continue to monitor therapists. So I think that's one way we mitigate it. Now, to answer the contrast question, when I went into the military, I was very fortunate to have the backgrounds that I do because we have imaging capability. We're allowed to order imaging. I think that's still not necessarily a thing in the civilian world. So you need to know what image you're ordering. Why are you ordering it? Is it the appropriate imaging? And I'll get to that in a second. We also can order a limited formulary. Honestly, I don't do that because I feel like for me, it's better if the primary care physician has full visibility on that. We have some profiling capabilities, so we can write essentially a modified exercise program or functional program to allow someone healing time. That's also something that you generally don't do in the civilian world. That would come from the physician. So those are just a few different things, but I will tell you, there's also a lot of increased responsibility. What I mean by that is, you've got to be on your game about red flags and yellow flags, and I think that would be my concern as we talk about physical therapists seeing a patient before a primary care provider does. Fortunately, I didn't go to Army Baylor, but the Army Baylor program turns out excellent physical therapists. And that's the one thing I've noticed about them, especially the new graduates, is really, really good at that. So I think safety is number one. That would be my, concern as we flush this out if we do into the civilian community. The other advantage we have that I don't necessarily think the civilian physical therapists have is we have our primary care docs on speed dial. I can literally go walk over there and go, listen, I ordered this image, for example. This looks like a femoral neck stress fracture. What do you think? Oh, yeah, let's get this thing worked up. So I'm not sure there's many hurdles and obstacles for communication in the military that there may be in the civilian world. We really are a very tight team, and it's just much easier to communicate, I think. But again, a lot more responsibility for the PTs. But again, I think there's enough safety mechanisms to support the PT, but you've got to evaluate and you've got to diagnose and you've got to treat and you've got to, I think there's much more reliance on yourself and your peers than maybe the support staff, the PTAs. And one good thing about that is we used to have technicians that could see patients. Now they all have to be licensed PTA. So I think that's a contrast, but I think that's happened a long time ago in the civilian world as well.
Mm-hmm. Hear the entire episode for free on iTunes, Spotify, other favorite podcast players, or go to mechanicalcareforum.com.